Today, we're going to unpack the epic three-decade story of modern globalization. I mean, it's a heck of a story. It's got everything. An explosive beginning right after the Cold War, a painful reckoning, and now a total reinvention of the world economy. So where do we even begin?
You know, when you hear this quote, it sounds like it could have been written yesterday, right? It's basically a description of an Amazon Prime paradise. But the crazy part is, the famous economist John Maynard Keynes was writing about the world way back in 1914. He was describing a previous golden age of global connection, an age that, well, ended abruptly and very, very violently. That's a powerful idea to keep in the back of your mind as we go through this.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's the 1990s. The Berlin Wall is rubble, and this incredible wave of optimism is just washing over the entire globe. This was the birth of modern globalization, a time of just explosive growth and this powerful belief that the whole world was becoming one giant, integrated marketplace.
To really get a feel for the sheer speed of this change, just look at this number. Back in the late 1980s, this was how much currency was traded every single day, $190 billion. Now that sounds like a huge number, for sure, but trust me, it was just the warm-up act.
Because by 1995, just a few years later, that daily number had absolutely skyrocketed to $1.2 trillion. Yeah, trillion with a T. Money was just flying across borders at a speed nobody had ever seen before. It really felt like there were no limits to this new, connected world.
So you have to ask, what was the big idea driving all this? Well, the intellectual engine behind it all was this deceptively simple theory from way back in the 19th century called comparative advantage. The core idea isn't that you have to be the absolute best at making something. It's simpler. It's that everyone wins if each country just focuses on what it's relatively good at. You play to your strengths.
Okay, so let's make this super clear. Check out this table. You've got West and East. Now, West is actually better at making both computers and bicycles. So you might think, well, West should just do everything, right? But look closer. West's real superpower is making computers. East, on the other hand, is relatively better at making bicycles. So if West goes all in on computers and East focuses on bikes, and then they trade, the total amount of everything goes up. The pie gets bigger for everyone. That was the promise. Trade wasn't a zero-sum game.
But, okay, let's pump the brakes for a second. Here's a little reality check. Even back then, at the absolute peak of all this optimism, the idea of a perfectly flat world wasn't quite true. Turns out most investment was still being financed at home. Money wasn't flowing quite as freely as you'd think from the headlines. It was a little hint that maybe the foundations of this new world weren't as solid as they looked.
And those little cracks, well, they were about to turn into massive fault lines. This brings us to